Hey up, Cock. Like we did with Championship other day, we're going to look at what the bookies think of League One next season and the position that got everybody in based on the title odds. So if Bolton, for example, are evens, they're top. If Wigan are 100 to 1, just two completely random sides, then they're obviously going to finish bottom. But as categories, as teams, as tier lists, let's get on it with relegation first. Tip to finish bottom at 100 to 1 is Wimbledon. Not surprising in the slightest. I was surprised that Charlton weren't for Championship just for the same reason as I am with this. Obviously, the team promoted through playoffs is statistically the weakest going into it, so I'm not surprised in the slightest that Wimbledon are. I do agree with this one, though. I did agree with Oxford being bottom at Championship. Wimbledon, they've lost a lot of players already. A lot of the midfielders have gone. The keeper's going on loan to Huddersfield by looks. They're going to lose one of the strikers. They've still got the back three, and they are big physical players that they've got. I do think they could have potentially bullied teams to a certain extent if they'd have kept everybody, and they're still going to be like that defensively. But they've lost a lot of players. It's giving Crawley vibes from this season, and they got relegated. So I must admit, I do agree. Sorry, Wimbledon fans. I will like coming to your place though this year. I've not been before. Next up, now this did surprise me. Northampton, a second bottom at 80 to 1. Survived like fairly comfortably in end this season, and they had a lot of decent players. I still think they're underperformed. I can sort of see where they're coming from here. If they're looking in depth at this, which they're obviously not, Bet365, but from an outside perspective, Northampton were getting decent results all the time. But the performances should have been much, much better for the level of play that they've actually got. They've got some very good Lakers of Northampton. McGeehan, Hoskins, they had Tyler Roberts on loan. They've had some good players, you know, and for to have only they still finished 6th, 7th bottom. They could lose some of them players. I could sort of understand where they're coming from to an extent, and where the three sides coming up, all looking fairly decent. Bradford, Donny and Port Vale, I would probably agree that I think could all finish above Northampton. The only team that Northampton stayed up in front of this season that is still in this league is Burton. Like, they finished 6th bottom Northampton, and Burton looks fairly strong for second half of the season, so I won't be surprised if they kick on a little bit. So I do genuinely understand where they're coming from, because they are just going to be one of the weaker teams in the league. And I can't lie, I agree. Honestly, I'm trying to find ways to justify them staying up, but I genuinely can't. I'm not going to lie. I don't rate the manager that they've brought in. He's got a lot of hype behind him, but I don't rate it, and I don't rate the performances. They've got some decent results, and they did well to stay up in end, but I do agree with what they're saying. I can't lie to you. It's still only doors, in it. Clubs have got ages to sort the transfers out. We're in middle of June, for God's sake. They've got months and months. So obviously this can all change. But for right now, they have got Northampton second bottom at 80 to 1. They've then got 3 teams all in at 66 to 1. So I'm going to have to put 5 teams into relegation zone, even though 4 only go down, which is Port Vale. Heavily disagree with that. Exeter and Burton. Now, I am struggling on the surface of it to find teams that could actually get relegated. But I must say, I disagree very strongly with Port Vale and Burton. Exeter, I could see. I've said this before, and if you watch the EFL reviews that I do, Exeter on a week-to-week basis did not impress me at all. Similar to Northampton, honestly, performance-wise. Exeter did well to survive in end, but the results flattered them a lot of time, I think, especially back end of the season. They weren't playing well. They were getting points, which ended that's the only thing that matters, and that's why they're still in League One this season, and they've not been relegated to pits of hell. But something like that will catch up with you eventually. It will get you. And I feel like if Exeter have a mediocre summer, I could see this happening. I'm not going to lie to you. But to have them on the same odds as like Burton especially is wild. Like, we'll talk about Port Vale in a minute, because they've only just got promoted. But Burton for second half of the season were at least mid-table. I think they were pushing top 10 for second half of the season. They had a very poor start, but as it went on, they got better and better. The squad that Burton have got, I think, is actually half decent. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's still a bottom half squad, don't get me wrong, but towards the top of the bottom half. So to have them at same odds is quite strange to me. Obviously, they do have a few loans as well. They've got Lofthouse from us and Owen Dodgson, I believe, from Burnley, are both on loan, both the fullbacks, so they'll have to change both of them. But the core of that squad is quite good, and I like the manager. They were playing some decent stuff as well, second half of season, Burton. It matched the results, whereas Exeter really didn't. This season, I can see Burton kicking on a little bit, being fairly safe, and I think Exeter will be in trouble, bottom 6-7 from game week 1 to 46. I think they could be in trouble there. And then speaking of Port Vale, as a newly promoted side in this division, I, again, very much strongly disagree with this. Darren Moore, for a start, is a great gaffer. Not bothered what anybody says. He's a very good manager. He's been good at every single team that he's been at. Every single one. When given time, he's been a very good manager. He's obviously got promoted straight away, first time we're asking from League 2. They've got a big budget, you'd expect. Like, the wages that they are paying to some of them players is top. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to pull George Byers from a championship side, which he were definitely a championship standard player when they nabbed him, to bring him down to League Two. And it's happening a lot now, don't get me wrong, it is happening a lot. They've got some pull Port Vale. Decent attendances, it'll be like mid-table attendances, I'd assume, for this league. Good manager, decent squad, a lot of experience. Port Vale, again, are one that I think will be fine. But regardless, these three are all 66 to 1. Northampton coming at 80s and Wimbledon at 100. So 2 out of the 3 along with these 2. Now going into the notes category is Stevenage joined with Mansfield at 50 to 1. So they're both the same odds. I could see both of these being a little bit higher as well, especially Stevenage. Some of the signings that they're making from an attacking point of view look very promising. They're obviously really good defensively as well. Pierre Gianni's still there. The core of that defensive unit just stays same for ages. It feels like they've had the same crop of players since they come up in first place. From a Barnsley perspective, this is because we've been here for this will be our 4th year in League One now, and I feel like Stevenage, while they've been in this league, have just looked the same every year. But defensively, they're very good. The signings look good. I think they'll be more than fine again. Mansfield, same again. Again, decent signings. I were worrying because second half of season, quite opposite to Burton. Mansfield started really well. They were shit hot at start and then tailed off quite a lot near end. They did win the last 2 games and they put a decent number of goals past their opposition as well near end. So that gave me a little bit of hope for them. They could be relying on Barnsley selling Dunn for the sell-on to give him any sort of transfer budget. But I think Mansfield should be fine anyway. Like, Clough's a good manager. They brought Liam Robertson on a free from Millwall keeper. They should be fine again. Moving on up, we've got Donny in at 40 to 1 on their own. Probably about right. I think they'll be mid-table, bottom half. I do think they'll finish higher than Bradford, if I'm being completely honest. I know they want league and it's easy to say that, but Grant McCann is not going to come and accept mediocrity. I think they will push the highest out of the 4 sides that have come up, Donny. I know it's easy to say because they want league, so it's just easy bait option, but I feel like a lot of people had said that about Bradford as opposed to Donny, and I think Donny do look more complete and less likely to lose the better players where Bradford already have, in Shepherd, for example. Donny, I don't think he'll lose Molyneux unless somebody comes in with £1 million, which nobody's gonna, unless Barnes will lose somebody, unless like Dunn leaves and then Barnes will come in for him as a replacement. I don't know. But Donny, I think he'll be maybe a little tiny bit higher than this, but I do agree with the sentiment that they won't get relegated, but they'll just be in and around bottom half somewhere. Then all coming in at 33 to 1, we've got Wigan, which again I do agree with. I'd probably have about the same odds as Donny, if anything. Peterborough, which is quite surprising, and Lincoln as well. These two, I am worried from a little bit. I would disagree with that. Wigan, I do agree with in grand scheme of things. But Peterborough and Lincoln, I think will be much closer down here, or even down here, than they'd probably like to think. We'll speak about Lincoln first because there's less to say. Rob Street's obviously on loan at Donny. Whether Donny go in and buy him or not is a completely different thing. But there's that's up in air straight away. The midfielder, Ethan Errahan, however you say his name, he were on trial at Barnsley at one point and we said we didn't want him. Comfortably one of the best midfielders in this league. Looks almost certain to go. He's not yet. And I think looking at a similar club in terms of revenue and stuff like that in Leyton Orient, obviously Leyton Orient got to playoffs and did really well. They got to playoff final. But they're going to lose Galbraith, who's got a year left on his contract, and they're rejecting offers at £1.5 million. So they're wanting £2 million for a bloke with a year left on his contract. I think Lincoln could look at that and take a bit of inspiration, thinking, and obviously Galbraith is better than him, but why should we accept less than what they're taking if he's got a year left on his contract? So I think they could demand a little bit more there. But I worry about them defensively. Lincoln, I have liked every single year that we've been in here, Barnsley again. Lincoln are one that I just assumed to be in and around 12th, 11th, slightly upwards. But they've never seemed to have enough going forward for me. Defensively, they've always been very good. Especially at their place. They're really hard to break down, really hard to beat. But losing Sean Rogan, who's gone to Huddersfield, they get compensation for that, which is fair enough. But losing him, centre-half, and Powdy O'Connor on a free to Reading, that could hit him like a big fat truck of bricks, mate. I think they could be in quite a pickle, Lincoln, from a defensive point of view. I feel like the hard-to-beat aspect will be gone. Obviously, they're going to bring players in, but they'll not be as good as what them two are, especially Powdy O'Connor. I think they could slide down table as a result. Same as Peterborough. Obviously, Ricky J. Jones has gone to a top German side, St. Pauli, so they're going to get zero compensation fee there. Poku is going on a free. They're going to get a bit of compensation there. Kipriano's going on a free as well. There's nothing left. In last year, since they got to playoffs, this time last year, really, they've lost Ronnie Edwards, Jason Knight, Harrison Burrows, Jed Steer, Kipriano, Poku, Ricky J. Jones. Effectively, all the decent players are gone. They've still got Collins at middle, but that's more or less it. That Mothersills wanted by some at championship sides. We know what Peterborough like. They like to sell big and then invest small. They like to go and pick up cheap non-league players or young'uns from Barnet more than anything. Shove them straight into the team and see what they can do. I don't think they can afford to do that this year. They finished 5 points safe, and I know Poku were injured for a lot of that, but that is with Poku, Ricky J. Jones and Kipriano added to a squad, and Jed Steer added to a squad that was still quite poor. Take them away, plus the fact that 3 at 4 coming up, I think are going to stay up anyway in Port Vale, Donny and Bradford. Peterborough, I think, genuinely could get relegated. And to be honest, I can't understand the odds behind it with Peterborough for that, going in at 33-1, same as Lincoln and Wigan. Predicted to finish higher up than Donny, according to bookies, to me is ridiculous. I think both of these could be in trouble, but especially Peterborough. But moving on into the miss-out category, we have got Bradford in at 25-1. Same as Leyton Orient first. Not really that surprising, especially from a Leyton Orient point of view. Kelman and Donnelly were probably the best 2 players last season. Both on loan, both gone. Galbraith is a serious interest in him. Obviously, they're going to invest. If they get £1.5 million plus for him, then they're going to invest it, obviously. But that's 3 of the best players that are all going to be gone for a side that, again, weren't good enough this year. They did finish 6th and they got in quite late, Leyton Orient. But could they do it again? I don't think so, personally. So I do agree with that. Bradford, I think, is slightly too high, odds-wise. Like I said, I think Donny are more than likely going to finish above him. Bradford have got a lot of experience in this league, which could help them for short term. They're definitely going to come and stay up, I think. But losing Shepherd, who were the best defender and probably best player, apart from Smallwood, might hurt them a little bit defensively. I feel like they're quite light up front, but that is due to the fact that Andy Cook were injured for ages. I still think they'll be fine, but maybe slightly too high up the table. Moving on, we've got 3 teams in at 20-1, which is Rotherham, Reading, and yours truly, Barnsley, at 20-1 in League One. What's happened to us? Rotherham first, I think they're way too high again. Some sides that underperformed last year, like Barnsley, Huddersfield, Bolton, there's at least something there. Regardless of what it is, there's a different avenue you could go down to say, well, I could see them finishing a bit higher this season because X, Y, Z. Rotherham, I just can't. I just don't understand what they've seen there to warrant same odds as Barnsley and Reading. Reading especially because new owners, Powdy O'Connor coming in already. They're going to spend a little bit of brash, you'd think, after being in the shit for so long. I don't know. I feel like Reading should be a little bit higher. Barnsley, from my own selfish point of view, I think it's more that I hope, more than think that we'll get promoted this year. I have true, serious, undeniable backing with Urian. I seriously think Urian could get something out of this team that nobody else really could. Just based on how we've been attacking last couple of games. Obviously, we went to Reading last game of season 1 4-2. As defence last season were absolutely honking shit, but that's all going to change. So you'd expect us to be a little bit higher regardless of that anyway. Whether we're getting top 6 or top 2, I ain't got a clue. But I do think we'll be higher, so I disagree with that. And I disagree with Reading's as well. And I disagree with Rotherham's. I'm not going to lie to you. I disagree with all 3 of them. I think Rotherham will be lower and Barnsley and Reading will both be higher. Another one missing out at 16s is Wickham. I do agree with this as well. The fact that they miss out on top 6. I feel like it were almost a big opportunity missed, really, for him last year. They had a really good squad. They had some very, very good loans in. Obviously, Caleb Taylor were on loan. Sonny Bradley were on loan. Joe Lowe was their player, but he's now gone as well. Humphries were on loan. He's going back. Obviously, there's interest in Coney. It's a lot of outgoings at Wickham, and their owners are really ambitious. They've got a lot of brass. They're going to spend some money. But I still think they're probably going to fall down that table a little bit as a result. And also, Mike Dodds is shit. Now, despite there being 7 teams left, there are 2 with the same odds to finish 6th, which is Blackpool and Stockport, both at the same odds at 12-1. I can see the vision with both of these, to be honest. Obviously, Blackpool were quite good under Steve Bruce, especially the second half of the season again. They didn't quite have enough to get in there. And to be honest, I don't think they will again. But defensively, they made some good signings early doors. Horsfall from Stockport on a free transfer. That Heckler from Wednesday, the piggy bastard, he's on a free as well. But they have lost Sonny Carey. It's a lot at once. I feel like some of these teams, like your traditional bigger sides, like Blackpool, Barnsley, like Bolton, for example, need so much at once that it's quite difficult. I can see where they're coming from, putting them at 12-1. And I agree that these are both quite a similar club in terms of looking at next season. Stockport were very good for more or less all of it and took advantage of a very, very weak league to come from League 2 straight to get into playoffs and looking quite good. Even though they lost to Leyton Orient on penalties, they were very good, I thought, Stockport were. A lot of experience in middle at part with Norwood, bait off him. Decent forwards, it's just perfect for this league and what it is. But Stockport are one that obviously there's a lot of time still to go. Nobody's done anything yet in grand scheme of things. But Stockport are one that I could personally see falling out of playoffs, if I'm to be completely honest. Last season's league were terrible at top end, bar Birmingham. I do think this one will be slightly better. Same as top end at Championship, in fairness. And it never works like this. I will more than likely be wrong. but I think Stockport could drop out as a result. Now, in at 11s, Bolton are on their own to finish 5th place. I do think Bolton will have a better season than last. They obviously finished outside at playoffs. Schumacher is a great manager. He got promoted with Plymouth over what I think is best League One side ever in Ipswich, when you look at what they went and did afterwards and how good they were, especially second half of the season. Plymouth were really good that year. Didn't really excel in any department, if I'm being completely honest, but they just kept grinding results out, and that is exactly what I'd say that he is. And that's what Bolton need to start doing. You don't have to play fancy. You don't have to make 1,000 passes a game. Just grind. Sorry, I just like smacked you. Just like graft. Put a little bit extra yard in, which I feel like Bolton have missed for this season especially. Running that extra yard, bit of extra graft. It's a lot of prima donnas in this squad that need turning over, and I think they're doing a half decent job of getting rid of them anyway. But it's another big transitional period, which is probably why they've got them to come in at 5th. Now, next place, in at 9-1, is a team that I disagree with very, very heavily, which is Huddersfield to finish 4th. As you'd expect from bookies being quite lazy pre-season, you look at the free coming down and immediately price them up as best free, which isn't really surprising from their point of view. But Huddersfield have made some very, very good early transfers. Not like Rotherham, where they just went and got loads of old boys going in for one last payday. Huddersfield have brought in Joe Lowe, Sean Rogan, Ryan Ledson, Harness. Them 4 would start for effectively every single team in this league. So that is very, very good early business. I would personally mark them as second at least, odds-wise, looking at this so far. And obviously there is loads more time to go. But early thought, I would say Huddersfield are going to finish higher than that. Now, for the order that they've got these 3 in, again, I completely disagree. I would like to know your thoughts. Please tell me now, or just say it in your head, what order you think these 3 will be in. Not what your personal opinion is, what you think Bet365 will have these priced up as, because I disagree with it. Coming in at 3rd, at 8-1, is Plymouth. Now, personally, I think they will finish in front of Cardiff, if I'm being completely honest with you. Plymouth, obviously, the manager situation is tough. Losing Ryan Hardy is tough. Losing a lot of the other players that they've got is tough. But attendances for Plymouth are quite good. They've obviously got this Bale thing looming over their head with potential takeover and a lot of money that comes with that. Why can't they come and buy Barnsley? And even though they have lost a manager, Plymouth, second half of the season, were quite good to watch. They have lost a lot of goals as well, and the manager, so you could sort of understand it from that perspective. But Plymouth offered quite a lot in different areas at pitch. Cardiff offered nothing for a long time towards back end. Plymouth at least did. But that does give away who they've got as title favourites. So they've got Plymouth in at 8, Cardiff in at 7 to finish second, and Luton to win the league at 4-1. Even though I said all that about Huddersfield, and I do think they will be autos, really, looking at the other business that's been done, Luton, I can't help but agree. I do think, looking at this very early, Luton do look the best outfit to probably win this league. They've obviously got parachute payments for Premier League. They're going to make some big sales, because a lot of the players are going to be on decent wages still, even though they're taking wage cuts every relegation. They'll probably have to get rid of Morris, Adebayo, do you know what I mean? A lot of these players. But they're coming into it still with good defenders. Asgard, for example, they've got a lot of young ones that they got from Arsenal. They're going to spend some money. They brought Saville in from Millwall already. They're not going to be shy, Luton, so I can understand why they're top. But Luton are favourites to win this league at 4-1 in League One. That's that, boys. Absolute pleasure. Love you all. Kiss. Make sure you like and subscribe if you do enjoy. I appreciate you all watching as always. There's more content on live tab if you go and look at that. I'm live probably like 3-4 times a week, and if not, it turns into a video afterwards so you can watch that. Also, any video ideas would not go amiss, boys. It is post-season, so we are struggling out here. I'm going to start asking ChatGPT if this carries on. Love you all. Kiss. Thank you. See you.
I say I'm a man, yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us bit it.